Fat Guy Flies RC here, and move this chair out of the way. All right, as I told you I would do, I got the 182 assembled, okay? And, well, you know what? I'm not ready yet. Let me put a battery in here real quick. I want to show you a few things about the model. So let me go off camera, grab a battery. Okay, and we'll go over some of the particulars in the build. Now, one mistake I made, which, you know, made lots of mistakes on different builds, is trying to do this with one hand without putting the model down. With antenna. These antennae on top are obviously just decorative. Yeah. Okay. And I just want to put a battery in it so you can see all the pretty lights. All the pretty lights and buttons. You know, we love the buttons. And so anyways, so there you got the blinking navigation light back there, landing light, red on the right side, green on the left side. So that's, you know, the features. You do have flaps, you've got ailerons, elevator, rudder, throttle, typical 6-channel plane. Now, as I said, the spar in this plane, you see this first black line right here on these wings? Spar only extends to that. So you've got this much wing from that point on down to here. No spar in it, just straight foam, okay? Don't be doing crazy aggressive maneuvers with this plane. You don't want to snap into your wing. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be able to do some stuff, you know, your basic rolls and, you know, but don't be trying to do some snap, you know, tight snap roll or whatever. Build aspects of the plane. Your typical build things, like screwing in your clevises and your control horns, or clevises and your, not clevises, but your, I can't think. The things that control the control surfaces. I guess the control horn or the arms. You just screw those in. The longer screw goes towards the inside. The shorter screw goes out. That's that way with all of them. You've got to do each flap, each aileron, the rudder, and the elevator. Understand there are no, I think you may have 2 spare screws throughout the entire, they are self-tapping, and there are hard plastic plates that you get to go into. So very good design, very strong, secure design, okay? When you, as far as, you know, all your controls, so go ahead and get those things screwed in. The whole side of the control rod or the control arm there, the holes go towards your servo. So don't do like I've done in the past. Make sure they go towards the servo. Okay, your servo linkage or your clevis. There's, you know, there's little details like the antennas you have to screw on. I don't know what these are called, directional vanes or something that screw on the tail back there. And they don't screw on, they just glue right in. I guess they're part of stabilization. I honestly don't even know what they're called. They're little vanes, little ribs. One thing, get a good, strong, heavy glue, because your hard points in your wings that the strut's attached to, they just glue in. Now they're keyed. You can't screw it up, okay? They only fit one way. And these struts, it doesn't matter which strut, which side, they both fit universally. But they're going to be towards the front of the wing. So when you put them on, understand that's where it's going to go, towards the front of the wing. But these hard points, they're hard plastic pieces, they screw in. So and then they got indentations, but you're going to need to take a little piece of sandpaper or the end of a screwdriver, something, kind of mar the inside of that foam up, and the plastic piece where your glue's going to go gives it more surface area to attach to. Do that, and always do that on anything you're going to glue together. Mar it up. Anytime you're going to put 2 pieces of foam together or anything like that, score it up just a little bit. You're not going to see it anyways, and that way it gives more surface area and more grip for your glue. Okay, having said that, if you're going to use this Gorilla Glue, okay, remember you need to slightly dampen it first. I went through a lot of headache after gluing this stuff in with this Gorilla Glue, letting it sit there for about an hour and a half, and it just came off in my hand. I'm like, holy crap. So, went back and wetted it. And I said, you know what, the heck with it. I used good old Upor, which is basically the overseas version of foam tack. Okay, I had it was already open. This foam tack's not open. So I use Upor, which is a great glue. It's got a good, strong connection, but it takes a good while for it to set up. Well, decided that wasn't happy with that, but I'm not going to. This is good. You just got to be patient. I'm not a patient person. So instead, went back to my good old handy dandy trusty stuff that I knew, because I had re-glued that so many times. I had messed things up. I said, I got to go industrial. So I grabbed this Gorilla Glue that you have to wet and you have to tack down, because it's going to make foam, but it basically builds its own surface area. It is tough as nails, and if you try to rip this out, it's going to rip pieces of the wing out before it'll let go. That's all my mistake. I could have just used Upor and gave it the proper time to set up, or foam tack and gave it the proper time to set up, and I'd been fine. That's what I suggest you do, because now my mistake has caused me to have some very ugly connections now. I've gone back through there, and I had foam sticking out, so I went and ripped all that foam off that was from this foaming Gorilla Glue, and then I just took some hobby paint, Snow White hobby paint, and painted over my ugliness. So that was my mistake. Don't make the same mistake. That's part of this channel. You learn from my mistakes. This Upor that you can't buy it in an American store. You got to order it from overseas. Amazon usually carries it in places like that. That's on the other side of the world, on the other side of the pond. This is their foam tack. This is their foam tack. Over here, we use foam tack. They're basically the same thing. Now, having said that, Gorilla Glue makes their version. I have proven that it is foam safe. I've used it on many models. So if you like Gorilla Glue, but I haven't opened this yet, so I didn't use it. Gorilla Glue is good. This is the Build Repair Craft Clear Grip. You don't have to water anything. You're just using it just the same way you would. It does take a few minutes to, just like foam tack or Upor. You put it together, you pull it apart for about a minute or so, and then you put it back together where it's nice and tacky. And that's a nice, strong, but slightly flexible bond. That's what you want. Okay, now back to this model. Enough of my rant about glue. Be careful with glue on your fingers, because you're going to make little, see my little boo-boo here? Look at how shiny the spot. That's my fingerprints from glue, and I've got all this glue marred in there, and I don't really want to take acid. I'm just going to live with that. Things about this build, this particular airplane. When you glue your tail, your rudder, obviously rudder sits on top, elevator slides down in there. I don't know if you can be able to see this on camera or not, but this part slides in this, you see the white here, slides in to this area. This part of the tail back here is one piece and goes up like this. This keys in. Across here is your plastic joiner that moves both pieces. Don't get glue on that. You can put a little bit of glue back up in here to where these two halves join, and glue along here, and then glue on the top of the elevator for the rudder to attach to, and then in this channel. Just don't make a big mess like I did. Okay? I suggest then taking painter's blue tape, taping the top of this rudder, gripping this bottom piece here to hold this whole assembly in, and then take another piece of your blue planer, any masking tape really, and clamp it down right here and let that set up, and that will lock in everything nice. And make sure you remember that when you're gluing that in, this control rod goes up top. There's a little channel there for it. It's obvious, but sometimes people miss the obvious. Okay, rudder connection or elevator underneath. That's that. The front of the model, the nose gear just goes straight in. There's a little set screw that actually has a Phillips head that actually goes into this axle. So, you know, unless you just have such a hard turn that you bust that little screw, then you don't. Then that's you have to go in there and drill that out. But it actually has a set screw that goes in there that goes into this axle that steers this. So understand that you do have shock absorption there. Now, don't freak out when these two wings, when you go to put them together, you've got this gap. There's a gap. There's a gap. There's a gap. Get over it. Hey, you know what? There's a gap. So understand that. What I suggest doing, and what I did, take a piece of clear packing tape and wrap it around the ends and across the top. Okay? Whenever you're ready to put the wing on. All right? Now, so it helps to keep that gap together. And the other nice thing, you say, well, then I can't see, you know, where your screws are, your wing screw. Your main points of contact are the two big pegs that go in this hard point, this reinforced hard point, and then these two screws, which take a 2mm hex drive. The landing gear, wing bolts, 2mm hex drive. Great. If you're not sure, you think you've got contact, but you're not sure it went all the way through, all you got to do is look through this back window, and you can see your screws down. So if they're down evenly, and you've got a good, strong connection, you're in business. Another thing I like to do is I like to take the model and just kind of bounce it on my hands, you know. You know, by the way, you put a 2200 in there, look at that. That's perfect. The CG is basically right on the spar. Okay, so I like to just shake that model, and that feels nice and tight. Okay. Don't get a freak out when you've got that gap. You kind of just have to line those up, screw them down. You can see that you came through. You're in business. Now, I told you all in our video, the last video, that I was going to mount my receiver in here from the butt up in there. Well, as you find out with builds, I would have this huge crow's nest of wiring that I'd have to shove because of all the wires and everything. And there again, I'm going to have a bunch of wiring around what I was trying to get away from, a bunch of wiring around my receiver. So I said, no, not a good idea. I want to leave as much out of the battery compartment as I can. I want that just to be battery and ESC. That way the cooling goes over that stuff from the inside out, you know. Your cooling goes in here and it goes out your battery tray. That's why this is perforated, okay? Because you don't have an exit hole anywhere else. All right. So I went ahead and I've got my receiver. You may or may not be able to see it. But I got it sitting there, basically just in front of the passenger seat on the floor, with one antenna going this way and one antenna kind of going down. It'll just feed in there. And I've run my wires through the seats, and then I got that big crow's nest of all those wires back behind the seats. Like when you throw all your junk in the back of the seat because you don't want to clean your car out, same idea. I've got my wires back there behind the seats. You can kind of, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but you can see my wires nest is back in there. Now you could be, if that bothers you, you can go in there and clean it up with some good old wonderful and the best invention ever, little zip ties. They do give you some zip ties, you know, and that's entirely up to you. But now I got my wires out here. They're way above the ESC, the battery, the motor. They're kind of off in their own foam, and they're at somewhat at a 90 degrees, so I shouldn't have any issue with signal. Now, the number one, none of this stuff that I've talked about is a game changer or anything bad about the model. It's just the quirks of how you got to put together the whole how they've got the wires. Oh, you're going to need to get you some extensions. Okay, it's just extensions like these, just simple extensions. You know, get them. You can get a pack of 40 off Amazon for like $6. You know, $6-7. They're you can get them in long. You get a multi pack that has spend like $11 and get 100 of them, just different lengths. Go ahead and buy that. If you're going to have models, why fight with wires? Why fight with them? Why have to move stuff around because you don't have? Get you some freaking extensions. I mean, come on, they're cheap. You spend about $20 on different sizes one time and you're set for years. You know, come on, make it easier on yourself. Go ahead and get you some extensions. Anyway, so you're gonna get you extensions because you're gonna have to have an extension for this light back here. You're gonna have an extension for your rudder and your elevator. Feed that up through that tube, and then obviously you're not going to need it for the wings because everything goes in right here. And then hook it all up, shove everything in the back seat, just like trash. And you got your receiver nice here and clear, sitting next to. You got the brain sitting next to the non-brain pilot in there. Sorry, Floyd. That's that. Now, all those things are nice things to discover and do with your model, with this particular model. Now, the one thing that is an absolute FMS, I'd like to slap the dog mess out of you. This prop is great. Putting the nose cone on, however, is a pain. This reminds me of the EC 1500 when it first came out. You had to go in there with your fingers, and you had to kind of hold that back plate and tighten down the prop, and you couldn't let it move. And you're trying to hold two things together at the same. Well, I can't explain, but you got to get this prop in there, tightened down in a certain way where the back plate that has a hex shape that goes right into the prop adapter. You got to get it in a certain way to where this will fit, where it'll snap right on. And you'll just have to see it to understand. It is not something that you say, hey, I'm not going to buy the model because of that. No, this is a great model. It's a great flyer. It's definitely worth this little headache. But you're going to have to position your prop in such a way and get it tightened down. The prop adapter will take a small Allen wrench or small thin screwdriver through it, and you can use that to tighten your prop down. Get your prop good and tight in there, but in such a way that your nose cone will snap right on. And it's threaded, okay? Everything's threaded. It's not going to come off, okay? But so that's a little bit of a design flaw. It'd been nice had this been a little more user friendly here, FMS. But I know this model is probably going to be discontinued because it's been out there forever. Or if they come out with another version, make the assembly of the nose cone a little more user friendly. This was a pain in the katukas. It really was. Put some sort of stopper or something to where the prop will only fit in a certain spot so that our nose cones can snap right on, or have like a lot of people do. You're able to screw it on the end. That would be awesome. But like I said, that's just a minor pain. Okay, but it's not a, hey, I ain't buying that model because that stupid thing is hard to do. No, don't do that. I do not like the fact, and the other thing is just a personal quirk, because I like things that screw together and bolt together. I'm more of a metal guy. I'm not crazy about the fact that you have to glue your hard points in, but understand that your struts are not your main support and attachment for the wing. The main thing are the two hard point pegs and your two bolts or two screws that go in the top. That's your main points. However, it would be nice to know that I could think of this as a good, strong backup. I wish these just screwed into hard points. The old Fly Zone, the Beavers and things, they had theirs screwed into hard points that were in there. They're hard glued into the wing. I like them a lot better. And a lot of your other planes are like that. So I'm not crazy about that. But there again, not a game changer. You should not be flying this plane crazy. Okay? Now, if you want to upgrade and put a 4S, and I've seen there's one guy, a follower of mine, who's put a 4S system in this. but I don't see him doing loops and real tight maneuvers. He's just going really fast in a straight line. Fine. But just understand the geometric forces is when you go fast and you turn, you're putting pressure on all your control surfaces, but you're also putting pressure on your wing. So, short spar, high pressure on the wing, not a good combo in this model. This is meant to be a trainer, a scale flyer. It's a beautiful scale plane. Fly it that way. Just my own preference. Anything else you do, well, that's at your own peril. But this is designed to be a nice, easy to fly trainer, so it should be treated that way. Very little trim. I had to do just a minor amount of trim to make sure all my control surfaces were right. But you do have to do that with any model. And nothing else springs to mind about it. It was pretty simple build. I didn't even look at the instructions. Duh. But yeah, I'm very impressed with it. It's a good model. I'm going to try to get her out and maiden her soon. But like I said, I got the 2200 in there, and that's just about perfect. Just a slight touch of nose heavy. That's what you want. All right, folks. Well, that's the build overview of my things I found. Can't think of anything else. Simple. I want to thank you for watching my channel and watching this video, and I hope if you're thinking about this model, this will help you decide to get it. It is a good model. It's fun to put together. And the nice thing about it, because it's a little bit of an older model, a lot of models you're buying these days and all the clevises and everything's already put in for you. Your control rods are already hooked up and everything. You don't have to do any minor adjustments. I kind of wish they wouldn't do that, because you kind of need that discipline to appreciate, some of those things. So this is a good model. If you've got 4 or 5 RC planes and you're ready to really put one together that requires a little more assembly, this is the one to start out with. It's not complex, but it's got enough steps in it where you'll learn more. And that's the more you learn in this hobby, the better off you are, the more you're going to appreciate it. So folks, thank you. That's that. You all have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Fat Guy Flies RC. Love y'all. Bye-bye.